under your expression.
This is the Nana Yaya Show. Hello viewers, welcome to another episode of the Nana Yaya Show. We are shooting from the base camp here in Accra, Ghana. And we are here with Tim Swain. We're here with Tim Swain, and I've been chasing this man. I dislike using the word this because it cannot, yes. I've been chasing after Tim Swain for so long, but here we are on the motherland, as Asiya, sitting as her children, with her behind us, having this necessary conversation about being an African in the diaspora, an African here on the motherland, or a diasporan here on the motherland, and the challenges we face. So I'm not going to talk more about you. You are going to tell the viewers about you, and then we'll get into the conversation.
Sure. Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for allowing me to be here with you today. I've enjoyed the conversation we've had off camera. So hopefully some of that will go on camera so people can understand what happens when great minds come together and collaborate so that we can help our continent and our diaspora progress. But just some basic info about myself. The short version is born and raised in the United States of America. As far as I know, I have no particular Ghanaian lineage, but I came to the continent, particularly Ghana, about 15 years ago.
15?
15. 1-5, yeah. That was my first trip. And I was here for 7 weeks. I traveled, to the north, all around different regions. And that experience transformed the rest of my life. It was the first time in my life where I didn't feel like a black person. I just felt like a human. I took that experience back with me, and Ghana became embedded within my heart. Fast forward a few years later, I met a good friend. We had a conversation about how we can improve the lives of African American men. One of the pivotal points of our conversation was we have to get them back to God, and we have to get them back to their African identity.
Yes. So
we created a program to mobilize people to come here for 7 weeks, intense learning about different Pan-African leaders,
yes.
A lot of physical activity. Yes. It was all built on a 360 model of leadership. Mm-hmm. Fast forward, that kept coming, and I realized if I really want to make the type of impact that I want to make, not just in Ghana but on the continent, I have to come here to learn more and become a student of the culture.
Yes.
And so several years ago, I had a conversation with my wife. It took 2 years of planning. In 2019, December the 4th.
Wow.
We came here with one-way tickets. Here we are.
I'm glad you came. The reason why I'm glad you came is that you kind of stepped, the foothold in Ghana. You have become one of my anchors, in a sense that when I'm out there kind of floating and I look at your videos and everything here, so people, if you don't know Tim Swain, please, you gotta go to Instagram, Facebook, YouTube the most.
Yeah,
YouTube the most. There is valuable information, there's valuable knowledge and wisdom that he has gathered on the ground and is sharing. And I look at the interviews you do, and they are so strategic, they are moving and they are inspirational. Now, before we go there, I'm going to ask you about the 360 leadership that you do with the say Africans in the diaspora, in a sense that not only the African American men, but diasporan African men, those born in Ghana, gone there, also having challenges with their manhood.
Yeah.
Or personhood, also need that.
Yeah. So the organization, the name is Enidaso 360. Of course, the Enidaso is hope, tree.
Enidaso 360. Okay.
So that's the name of the organization, because what we looked at was no matter what happens, we know that there's always hope.
Yes.
And we wanted to be able to empower people spiritually, culturally, as well as professionally. And so we mobilize people to go back and forth from the States to Ghana, but while we're in Ghana, what we do is we collaborate with other leaders on the ground. One of the major ways we do that is something called the Unite Conference. It's a one-day conference. We have anyone that's in Ghana, they come, and last year's conference we had people from all over the diaspora. We had conversations around business, how to do business.
Yes.
Talking about the real cultural challenges, not just the superficial, let me taste the food or I don't like it, but the real deeply embedded cultural challenges.
Yes.
Things around marriage, religion, relationships, the Obruni versus the Bibini, like the real challenges that we're having.
Why Ghana is solid pressy? Hey, people Obruni versus the Bibini.
So
why are here?
Oh, thank you. So we were just really trying to bridge the gap, because what we realized at the end of the day is we have so many similarities, but because throughout history we've been disconnected, and the narratives that are told from this side and this side often is not told by the Africans or the African Americans or the Ghanaian Londoners. They're told by someone else.
Yes.
But when we understand and when we can hold our own stories, and what we realize is we have much more in common, and that we can do a lot more when we see each other as brother and sister, as opposed to, this person over there versus this African over here.
And that is very right, and that reminds me of some of the conversations that I have had with, for instance, people of Jamaican descent within my field when I see the baby mama syndrome, kind of coming through. It's serious conversation, so I have had to break it down to them. I remember clearly, if I may share with you, a gentleman came and I asked, are you going to invite my having a child? And they're looking at me like I have 10 heads. And it's like, I will give you the background of why many of these things happen within our society, and it's generation over generation. Culturally, within many African cultures, if you impregnate a woman, you are marrying a woman. Okay. Fast forward through the transatlantic slave trade, many of our African men and women were used as breeders. Even husbands and wives the families were disconnected. So when you look at it, epigenetics, over years, it becomes the norm without us not thinking about it, because it's become a subconscious behavior. It is genetic. So when I began to break it down, that I don't blame you, it is no true fault of yours, it's the culture, society, and the political and the economic system that as African people, we were utilized as. That is why we are facing this. He went, oh my goodness, I've never really understood it from that point of view. And I said, yes.
Wow.
So if you are to unearth as an African what is expected of you with this female, then you will understand how to treat the woman. You hear in Ghana, normally when you're greeted, when I greet a man, traditionally they will say, yeah, and mother. Even a small child can be greeted as, a small female child can be greeted as, yeah, and because Ena is motherhood. And a young baby or a young woman will grow up to become a mother. So even the old man respects the young baby as a motherhood. And as we sitting here, this earth is Asasela. Gives birth to us, and when we die, we go back into heaven. So these are the necessary conversations. And I'm so glad you're doing that. I'm so glad you're doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the conversations are necessary because it's the knowledge that enables us to be empowered. As we were chatting off camera, one of the things that happens is when we bring people of African descent from the U.S. to Ghana, oftentimes our local Ghanaian brothers and sisters don't understand how, let's say, culturally malnourished we are there. And just to come to the continent, just to see faces. It doesn't matter what they're doing, but just to see other people look like you
Yes.
That in itself is almost like some type of energizing experience. And most of the people that we bring, they always say the same thing. They felt like I went home even though I was there the first time. And there was a spiritual connection. And that's because of everything you're saying right now. And so when we bring them here and they experience it, because they recognize it in their spirit first,
yes.
Then we give them the education to help them understand why you feel this way,
yes.
why this is going on inside of you. And then when they go back, what you see is the thing that we were talking about off camera, which is they have the power.
Yes.
You know, that they go back with this level of confidence.
And grounded.
Yes, yes. So when things happen, and actually there's research around it. My colleague with the organization, he does neuropsychology.
Yes.
And so his research is around, I mean, I'm going to mess it up. He does some research basically looking at cultural immersion and how it impacts us cognitively and how that impacts our view of racism.
Yes.
And so what the research basically says is when you have a positive racial identity, it impacts you in terms of like your overall well-being.
That is right.
Your place in the world.
That is
and there are
right.
several others that I can't quote, but I'll make sure to get you that so you can you can put it in the link so people can see that.
Yes.
But it's not just a thought that we have, but it literally is impacting our whole self when we know where we belong and we're grounded.
Wow. This is where I say you speak in my language. The psychology of it all. The psychology of it all. You know, storytelling, you and I having this conversation really is about storytelling. And I'm not sure whether you're familiar with, you know, the critical race theory that blew up in the US.
Yeah.
And I am a proponent of critical race theory, especially counter storytelling. That tenet of it, the counter storytelling. What we're doing right here, right now, is counter storytelling. What the big story is about, written by others for us, and what we are sitting here actually telling. This is our African story. It doesn't matter whether you were born in the diaspora. This is the motherland, and this is where we're sitting, and this is where we're having this conversation and sharing.